Hello everyone and welcome to today's stream. Today we'll be talking to three filmmakers who'll be joining us for the Audience Choice Roundtable from this year's Paris Lifter Film Festival. I'm excited by this one. These are three great films and I'm excited to hear their journey and how it started out to getting it made, to head the film festival circuit and then the life of the film afterwards.
And geographically diverse, I'm sure they'll tell you, but we've got people calling in from a few different places today, which is always nice as well.
Maybe not the most comfortable time zones, but they can introduce themselves and we can find out where they're from now. So let's welcome on our filmmakers.
Here we go.
Hi everyone, you are now on the screen, so please feel free to unmute yourselves and show your faces.
So we have got Dylan, Angela, and Julian. Hi, guys.
Hi, thank you for having us.
Hi.
Yeah.
Hi, so
Thanks for having us.
there you are, there's Dylan, Angela, we still can't quite see you.
There
you go.
Amazing. Dylan, starting with you, could you all just introduce sort of yourselves, the project that was screening at Paris Liftoff, and the role that you played in that project?
Okay, so my film was By the Grace of, and I was the writer and director and star, I guess, but it was kind of autobiographical, so it was kind of just about myself.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like not a ton of acting involved secretly, so. But that was my project, yeah.
Nice.
Well, it was an autobiographical film, yeah, about Huntington's. So.
Cool.
Very cool, and I look forward to delving into hearing more of your story. Angela and Julian, feel free to leave your cameras on because you may want to jump in with some questions that you might have for Dylan and vice versa. So feel free to keep on the stream. And then Angela, why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah, the camera is on. I don't know what it might be in the translation.
Yeah, we're losing you, but we can always hear all of you, which is the most important thing. So if we sort of lose your visual, I'm sure you'll come back to us.
We can hear you though.
But we can hear you, so that's great. So yeah,
Good.
Angela, tell us about yourself.
So my short film is called It's Lawr-uh, not Lawr-uh. And it's about a young teenager struggling with her identity. Does she call herself Lawr-uh or does she call herself Lawr-uh? And so there's these pressures, there's her friendships, there's her family, and how photography is an escape for her and a tool for her to find herself.
Very cool. And you pronounce that so much better than we can.
And then Julian, finally, why don't you
Thank you for
give an
trying.
introduction to who you are?
My film is Pulk. I was the writer, director, producer, and performer. The film is about three disconnected stories, kind of at the center of a bigger sensational crime story, and kind of how they unfold by showing the smaller moments in a bigger situation. Yeah.
Nice. Well, let's start. Let's get one of the films playing in the background and let's delve further into By the Grace of by Dylan. So the film is now playing, Dylan. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about it?
Why don't we why don't you take us to the very beginning and start with the first conception of the idea? You've mentioned that it's autobiographical.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, so the whole movie is kind of structured with like different types of scenes, and the beginning scene is kind of a memory scene that is like inspired by my own childhood, and kind of being like growing up in Chicago, but with my mother who's sick. But I also kind of wanted to show people that kind of like a sense of nostalgia, but that's kind of like infected with a sense of dread as well. And this would be kind of the opening that's kind of gives people hints to what's going on, but definitely also doesn't really explain much. So it's kind of just this nice opening that I hope provides people with a kind of a tone for the rest of the movie.
Yeah. It's beautifully
yeah.
shot.
Yeah, so for most of the movie is handheld. This is one of the for the memory scenes and for the dream scenes. We actually got like a gimbal to keep it steady and nice and smooth.
Sure.
Also to give it a different feeling, so you can like kind of tell because we're switching between these different spaces. To kind of be able to tell clearly just by kind of looking at the frame, like what kind of space we're in. You'll notice it's a bit desaturated too. But also really beautiful music. My friend Karsten wrote this. I was super happy with it. So thanks, Karsten. I don't know if you want to see this later. Yeah.
And then we completely change styles here and we go to a sort of talking heads, which is really cool that you've got the hybrid there. Where did the idea from that come from?
Okay, so I mean, because like the film itself has always been, it was always going to be some type of hybrid because it was so autobiographical, but also because I was going to use like friends in it to a degree. And this scene was like I was originally going to have people give short little responses to like the question like how did you react when you found out. And it was actually going to be a way of doing an opening credits where I would like give everyone's, everyone had a chance to like introduce themselves, and I'd have like, in this case, like Laith playing Lucas and kind of make those nice and short. But what happened is on the day of when we actually did it, it went, it was, I mean, honestly, it was a very like emotionally intense day, but it went extremely, there was just like so much good and kind of like emotionally powerful material that came out of that I really expanded it and just decided to make it kind of a reoccurring thing that would occur throughout the movie. So this is kind of an accident in a way. Wasn't entirely like I didn't go into like the script expecting it to be to have that kind of documentary style be such a big part of the movie.
Cool.
But then it ended up working out really well. So
yeah, a happy accident. We love those.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd be amazed how many times when we're talking to filmmakers, it turns out that contingency plans become the strength of a project. Yeah, we love things like that. It's why it's so great, filmmaking, all about thinking on your feet, being adaptable, being malleable, and it definitely pays off here. That's really cool.
So we've seen quite a few different locations already within the film. Did you? How did you go about getting all the permits, or did you go guerrilla style on some of these?
It was a combination. So there were some definitely. My producer was definitely. I know it was my cinematographer. My cinematographer was annoyed with us for how many locations we had in the script. It was like, this is really hard. But we used a combination of just kind of like taking advantage of like places in the local area who were willing to provide us locations. Some of them provided it for free. Some of them provided it for like ridiculously cheap. But I think that like when we just reached out to people and just told them what this movie was going to be about and just like how low budget it all was going to be, a lot of different like people who own these spaces were actually like very willing to let us shoot for relatively cheap. Though we once with the parks department caught us once because we were shooting in the parks without having a permit, and they got mad at us.
What did they
but
say?
it's okay. We paid. We did pay, but they like caught us and they were like, "You should pay," and we just agreed to, and they let us keep shooting. So that was nice.
Oh, that was nice. Here in the UK, you often get told to leave the premises and you can't come back, and then there's like a guard or someone that walks around the perimeter to not let you back in, essentially. So it seems like you got away with that quite lightly.
Yes, fortunately. It would have been not fun to have to come back,
So you mentioned there
when they weren't paying attention.
So you mentioned there that your cinematographer was a bit annoyed at you for having so many different locations, but so far all of the ones that we've seen during the stream have been really well lit. how many members were you in your crew? And did you
we
have a
were-
specific lighting department join you?
We did not.
No.
We did not. Which is one of the ways that, like, I'd say that lighting ended up largely being my cinematographer's job. And we all had to like kind of split duties because we were a pretty small crew.
Sure.
So on set, on any day, we had a cinematographer, a PA, a assistant camera, a sound guy, an assistant director, and me, and that's it. So
Okay, cool.
pretty small. I mean, like, it would be really nice to have someone in charge of lighting next time because we had to kind of toss things up. And when you have the same people in charge of doing that as you have in charge of doing, other things, it definitely like slows down the shoot a bit. But
Yeah.
we were given a really nice lighting package too, for a big old discount, which was really nice. So we ended up getting better lights than we were expecting, and we just had to, do it ourselves. Had to
That's
figure it out
cool. Was
on
that
set.
because of like the locations? You were just reaching out for people, explaining the sort of goals behind the project? Is that how you got the
Yes.
good deal on the lights?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
See, it's always worth doing.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I think,
Oh, yeah.
I
And
think
I-
it's amazing how many companies, whether they're in the industry or not, if they're just local locations, if you explain the reasons for something that you're doing and they know that it's not something with a huge amount of money behind it, that's not going to be like reaping in benefits and especially finance on their behalf, people are willing to be really
Oh yeah,
generous.
definitely.
Yeah, they are.
Normally.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
always worth reaching out. Yeah, cool.
Mhm.
Now in a church as well, so you managed to shoot. There are so many
Oh,
locations.
that's my childhood. That's the church I went to as a child.
Ah,
nice.
nice.
cool.
Wow.
Yeah, some cool
So
shots
that,
in there as
yeah.
well.
So we there was this super beautiful like Polish Catholic church like in my neighborhood that we wanted to shoot at, and the process to be able to shoot there was completely terrifying. We actually like got it. We were put in touch with the Archdiocese of Chicago.
Jeez.
They emailed me. This is a weird thing that happened there. And they wanted so much money, and they wanted to review the script, and make sure it was like morally upstanding. I don't know if it is. Maybe. Hopefully. I don't know. But I just ended up calling my Unitarian church from high school, from childhood. And they were so sweet, and they basically just said that we could have the location, you just have to pay enough for us to pay someone to be there with you during that time.
That's fair.
So
Yeah,
it was
cool.
like extremely cheap. It was ended up being, I think, like
Yeah.
$80 or something like that.
Wow.
Great.
And it was a really beautiful space too. So I got lucky, and they're super sweet. Lots of people helped out on this who I wasn't expecting, just like reaching out to people, and they were happy to help.
So you mentioned
So
there
you'd be
that this was your local church and the church that you went to growing up. All of the locations that we're seeing, are they all familiar to you and places that you have known forever growing up in Chicago, or how did you come
For
about
the
all these?
most part, I'd say for the most part.
Okay.
There's like some exceptions, like more specific, like the pawn shop. Like I don't have a local pawn shop that I have memories associated with. I never really went to a pawn shop growing up. But this is just like a pawn shop. I just kind of walked around my neighborhood and a couple of the neighboring neighborhoods and went to different pawn shops and asked around. But I'd say yes, a lot of locations, like I do have specific memories from me growing up and associations. Yeah.
Nice. So then, during the shoot, how long was the shoot?
It was about a month.
A month.
So like the
Not
whole
bad
month
for a
of
feature
August,
film.
basically. Yeah, we shot quickly.
Yeah.
You did.
So I was going to say, there must have been some incredible moments during the shoot. Do you have any that particular stand out, and a story perhaps that you would like to share?
Okay, let me think. There were some days that went really well. There was one day where we got shooting was like seriously hampered by this like incredible swarm of bugs.
What?
I thought
Yeah,
you were
yeah.
just going to say storm then, but
It was overwhelming. It was disgusting. So we were shooting by the planetarium in Chicago, which is
Okay.
right on the lake, and it overlooks the city. We're not going to see that, unfortunately, in the first 20 minutes, but it happened later where I'm on like the date. And like we had like you can't see it because we cut around it, but we were like constantly having bugs land on our face in the middle of takes over and over and over again, and we're just like swatting our faces and stuff.
No.
That
Yeah.
sounds like something like the terrible shows that we have in the UK. I don't know if you've got it in America, but I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here style, bugs everywhere.
Yeah.
It was weird too. I was expecting like weather to be a problem, and it was just like bugs.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
What was your favourite part of this project? Maybe pre or production itself, post production? Well, what's been your favourite takeaway from doing this film?
Well, like the shooting process itself, like when you're actually like in the middle of shooting, it's like you never end up. I had so much to do all the time, and that I had to do like rehearsals, and I had to do, plan out the shots with my cinematographer. And I had to make sure like the next locations were good with my producer. So I describe shooting as incredibly stressful and not the most satisfying. And hopefully next time around, if we have a bigger budget, that'll be easier. But for me, the editing is the most enjoyable.
Okay.
I really like just being able to be able to do things, just like kind of perfect them. And just like, I like being able to spend like, 4 or 5 hours sitting down, thinking about it and like taking a break and going for a walk.
So with
having
that in mind
coffee.
then, with the editing being one of your favorite processes, how did the film change from the shoot to now the final cut that we're seeing? Did it change quite drastically? Did the storyline change at all?
The storyline, I would say the story like through line didn't change, but I'd say it did change considerably in that the movie got a lot shorter.
Okay.
And I ended up realizing like how many scenes that I had added that were kind of superfluous and were not adding to the plot. So I definitely had like more you consider character development, and with a lot of side characters that I think once I actually like sat down and watched it all and got feedback from my friends, it was really like, it was kind of like expanding. It was like slowing down the film and making it kind of shaggy and also making it kind of unfocused. So I definitely cut a number of scenes just to try and make like every scene lead to the next and just kind of have a solid through line throughout the movie.
Nice.
So I'd say that's probably its biggest change. It's just kind of like focus. Like it's just like focusing on the main story and making that like really the like essential aspect for the film. Yeah.
Nice. So obviously this film is currently doing the festival circuit. How has it been received?
So I just got into 3 more festivals.
Yay.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
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 So got Oniros Film Festival, which is in New York.
Cool.
It got into the Rome Prisma Awards and is currently nominated for a bunch of stuff, which is exciting. And that'll be next week. So that's going to be, I'm definitely going to attend that, or do it online because of COVID. And also the London Art House Film Festival. And I've suddenly, I've gotten some messages. I actually had a festival reach out to me
It
and
does
asked
happen,
me to apply, which was weird.
is cool.
I didn't know that happened. It made me feel, it put me in a good mood.
Yeah.
So right now, it's really just like the past 2 weeks, so everything's been kind of blowing up. And we have like a lot more things. Yeah, a lot of things in the pipe right now. So I'm happy about it.
So after the festival circuit, what's next? Are you going to try and get the film distributed onto VOD platforms and can be shared with the wider audience? Or what is the future life for this film?
Yes, I would like to get it distributed, hoping that can help me work on my next project. I do have another script I've started writing and I'm planning on working on. So
Fantastic.
I would like to make another movie in the next year or 2. Yeah. And it would sure help if I got distribution on this, because then I could have an easier time funding this.
Oh, definitely.
So,
Yeah.
yes, definitely.
with a feature film, but we'll often say that about shorts. It's one of the greatest strengths of making a short film or having a short film portfolio, is that it always will then help with like your next step. So cool.
Very cool. Well, does anyone else have any questions at all?
For Dylan.
I do.
Okay.
Yeah. Go for it.
How like the topic is very personal, and you, kudos for being so brave, for sharing so much. How was that like therapeutic for you? Did that help you in any way internally to express yourself in this way?
I'd say definitely. But also like my friends and family like all know that I don't like talking about it much, and I also like everyone I know like has the opinion or like does seem a little bit struck by how little it seemed to affect me in my day-to-day life. I've never been like a depressive person, and like that has remained the case. So I don't worry about it much in my day-to-day. But this is both a way for me to like process emotions that I like haven't been talking about, but also like kind of finding them at the same time, and just like realizing that like this is like an important part of my life, and it does like like this it hampers me in many ways, and like the way like my life is going to turn out. But this like doing this project like did like kind of allow me to come to terms with it, and also reveal things about myself that I don't, but also reveal those things to my friends, which was also an important part of the process because, as I said, I don't talk to them about it much, honestly, besides the basics. And for a lot of my friends, it was like watching the movie was a way for them to kind of understand my feelings about it better.
Nice.
Yeah.
Can't think of a better medium to do that.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And if that's helping your friends understand it, imagine how it's going to help the whole world and other people understand what you're going through and Parkinson's disease. Or Huntington's disease, sorry.
Yeah, these films are so important. And I think this is really interesting because you're sort of showing us the hybrid between the two, because I think people are so well accustomed to documentaries playing a big part in raising awareness for different issues. But this is, how bringing the two and then the narrative side with it equally as touching and important.
Absolutely.
Yeah, really, really great. Well, thank you so much for being so open, like Angela said, and sharing with us. It was an absolute pleasure sharing this film, and it got such a strong response when we screened it. I think a lot of people were struck by the project, so thank you.
Thank you. Shall we move on to the next film?
Yeah.
So,
do stay with us, Dylan, and if you've got any sort of questions for the others or anything else to add, please do.
So we're moving on to, it's Lawr-uh, not Lawr-uh. So Angela, why don't you take us back to the beginning of this film and tell us a little bit more about what inspired the story.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So here we go.
Are you there, Angela?
Oh, I think we might have just lost her.
Oh no. What's she saying?
Oh, we're breaking.
Hi,
up.
I'm actually, we're having trouble hearing you. Yeah.
Is that the same for everyone?
Yeah, sorry.
It was,
Yes.
but now you're coming back.
Yes,
to,
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry. This is so frustrating. Our
It sounded like
internet
you had some
here
really nice
at
things to
Pinewood
say.
Studios, would you believe, can be terrible.
So we've moved on. We've moved on to your film now, Angela, and it has started, and we're approximately 30 seconds in to the film. Why don't you take us back to the beginning and tell us what inspired this story and why you wanted to create this short film?
So while we were filming this short film, everybody kept asking me if this was my story, if this was something that I lived. And in a way, it was something I could have been, but something I fought against. I always wanted to be proud of where I came from, to show everybody the music that we listen to show everybody the food that we eat, even though it wasn't always welcomed, because, you know, coming from another country, moving to the United States, not speaking the language, it was all like a very difficult process for me to grow up with. But I was always very proud of where I came from. And part of my pride for where I come from was wanting to showcase stories that show Colombia in a different light. I'm very tired of the narco culture that we ourselves have created. But, you know, let me show you a little bit of the beauty of the people. Let me show you a little bit of the beauty of the landscapes. Let me show you a little bit of our personal struggles. And that was one of the main, you know, catalysts for wanting to write this film.
Cool. So how old were you when you moved to the States then?
I was 7.
Okay.
I was very young, yeah.
Yeah, cool. Fantastic.
And then I kept seeing people coming. Like, immigration here became very, very popular really fast. And I'd noticed that everybody was always going through the similar things that I went through. And it's a way of building understanding between immigrants and between the citizens here. And how can we make a better way of just understanding each other? Everybody has difficulties, and how can we reach an understanding? And instead of, you know, discriminating or of pushing people away, how can we build each other empathy and just help each other?
Absolutely, I love that. I love the idea of like the core humanity, but the United States famously being this amazing melting pot of all different cultures and people, which of course you do see a lot of in LA. It's one of the things we love about it. So it's amazing to have a film celebrating that, which is so nice. So were you the writer on the project as well then?
Yes, I co-wrote this with my cousin who lives in Colombia. I wanted him to be able to help me with a lot of the historical facts.
Nice.
Yeah, so we co-wrote it together.
Interesting. And did you like the co-writing experience? Some people love it and would swear by having a co-writer, and some people like to go into their very own internal bubble, and it's not an experience that they find easy to sort of share responsibility on. What was your experience?
Yeah. So Ivan is a prolific reporter, and he has done intensive research, and he's very knowledgeable of all the culture. And, you know, there's a part where we explain where this game comes from, and there's a part where we explain about this big violence period that was in Colombia against political parties. So it was very helpful. It was really cool to be able to learn from him and to be able to learn from each other in the process.
Amazing. So when did you actually start shooting the project then? When did it go into production?
So that's a great question. This short film was shot 4 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And then post-production took a little bit, but the major part was there was no interest for Latinx films. This is a very recent, you know, phenomena that like, oh, we should really pay attention to films from other filmmakers in the United States. There was a lot of international films, but not so much Latinx films made by Americans. So 3 years of not getting into any film festivals, finally there's there's awareness of the need for our stories, and now it's having a good response 4 years later.
Wow. Well, that's a great story of perseverance. When you talk about having to keep going with a project, I don't think people always have that in mind. So a huge well done to you for sort of like, you know, sticking with it and making sure that it did get the platform it deserves.
So
Yeah, to be honest, it was mostly just, my actors deserve to be seen. My crew deserves to have seen the amazing
course.
work that they did and to have that attention. So it was mostly motivated by that.
Cool. That's right. And have they all managed to now see it in a cinema space, or was it you started getting selected during the COVID time when all the cinemas shut down?
Yeah, unfortunately, has been through the COVID time, but it's been really fun to share the experience with them. Like these Q&As that used to happen in person in a theater, now they will be able to experience it even if they're in Colombia. So that's been good.
This is true. That is definitely a positive to this situation. And I do feel like festivals will adapt and potentially keep the model that they've been doing during COVID alongside live screenings to just give filmmakers more exposure and supporting them in other ways. So
yeah, because there are definitely potentials there. Those are the things we talk about a lot. Mainly the geographic span of an audience obviously has huge amount more potential when it is online. So it's cool to hear that a specific film like this, of course, benefits from that when it's got the two different locations. So it's cool.
So you said that this was shot 3 years ago and it's now picking up. But when you were shooting it, as we spoke to Dylan there, was there any particular moments that really resonated with you and a story perhaps that you would like to share?
Yeah, there were quite a few, but one very magical moment, like Dylan said, this is a region where it rains a lot, and so I was very worried about the rain. Even a week before we started filming, there were floodings of how much it had been raining.
Oh no!
But the first day of filming, it woke up. The sky woke up beautiful, no rain whatsoever. And then we had one scene that we wanted it to rain on, and I was already like, I said, okay, no rain, I'm okay with that. As soon as we lit it and we were getting ready to roll, it started raining. So it was almost like, cue the rain.
Who needs a rain machine? Yeah.
Yeah.
Very lucky. Oh, that sounds great.
Yeah.
That sounds like a fun experience.
Yeah.
So what is the plan? So this is now doing the festival circuit a couple of years later, but what's the plan for this film after? Are you looking to put it online, make it available for everyone to see, or are you maybe developing this as part of a collection? What's the plan for the film?
Yeah, so I've been co-writing with Ivan, and we're writing another story. And it just so happens that our mind always goes back to Lawr-uh. And so there are characters from this short film that are now being developed in a feature film. And so how the worlds begin to interconnect in that way.
So does that mean you're using this as a short proof of concept for that feature film?
I don't think so. I think it's more of an introduction to a universe that will begin to expand.
And I guess you'll be taking with you all the lessons that you learned on this project to help you with like all the bios that you've probably built up in your head and all those little intricacies that you've learned from about the characters in the world. So what a great springboard to have for the feature project. Is that what you've been working on then recently? Or because we're talking 3 years that you've had since, is this something that's been in the pipeline for a while as well?
Yeah, so this film was a big change in my career. I started off wanting to be a cinematographer.
Okay.
And so I was on my route to being a cinematographer, and then I shot this and I fell in love with writing and directing and producing. So I've been producing mostly since then. And now I'm again transitioning into writing and directing. So that has been very exciting.
Great to have all the different experiences and strings to your bow, as they say. Because each one having the background and knowledge of the different arts involved just strengthens you so much then as an overall director, doesn't it? Because we always say if you understand cinematography, if you understand acting, it's just going to make that job so much easier, and you're going to end up with a much more effective project because you just understand what it is and how you're going to achieve the vision. So that's cool.
So you didn't do the cinematography on this film?
No, I was very fortunate to partner up with Santiago Cortez. He is amazing, and the entire team. I can't even begin to describe how much passion, how much love, how much dedication every single person brought to the project. We didn't have much budget like Dylan. We were traveling, so it was different locations that we were staying at, and everybody was so incredible. But Santiago led the team. He was very understanding. I didn't speak the Hispanic film language. I spoke the English film language. And so along the way, we taught each other the lingo in English and in Spanish. And I was hoping that in them knowing the English terminologies, they can then begin to getting jobs that Netflix was now filming a lot in Colombia. So I was hoping that could be a way of opening the doors for them for bigger projects as well.
Amazing.
Sounds like you had a fantastic experience, and one that you will treasure for a very long time. So are you
we still speak about it.
Are you working on anything else or just developing the feature at this moment in time?
I'm working on a few things that I still don't know what they are. I'm trying to, this whole entire COVID time, I've really delved into allowing myself to remove all of the preconceptions of what we have to and should be writing about, or what audience we should appeal to, or what, is this going to sell? Is this not? Just removing all of that and really letting my inside creative be explored. And so I have been writing something that is, I don't know what it is. Well, it's on the ways, it's on the progress, but it's really interesting. It connects my philosophical background because I went to school for philosophy.
Oh, wow.
And all my knowledge of story and of characters and of connection with people, all of those things are being explored.
Amazing.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story as well. I can't wait to see what other films you produce and how far you come along on your journey with the feature with Lawr-uh. Lawr-uh.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Shall we move on to Julian's film? So we're moving on to Pulk. So Julian, same question goes to you. What inspired this story, and could you reintroduce yourself and the roles that you had within this film?
Sure. I was the writer, director, producer, performer, editor, and designer.
A true indie filmmaker.
Kind of a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So kind of backtracking. When I first got out of film school, I made a very small short film that I was really, really excited about. And during the post-production phase of it, I was kind of what I was trying to accomplish wasn't coming through. So I think is what most filmmakers do whenever you're kind of down and out about stuff that you're creating, you go to other films that you love. So I started just kind of like watching a ton of Ackerman, a ton of Haneke stuff. And I thought, you know what, let me kind of go back to the basics. Let me strip it all down. Let me see if I could just create something like very minimal, very small. So I created a short film called Pulk. We shot about in 4 hours, edited in 2. It was very, very fast.
Wait, you shot it in 4 hours?
Pardon?
You shot the short film in 4 hours?
We shot the short film, yeah, in 4 hours, and then we edited in 2. Yeah.
So if you entered a 48-hour film competition, you could just sit and relax for the
loads of time.
Yeah, you could just be like, I'm done.
Yeah, exactly.
I did it in 6 hours.
Tons of time. Yeah, but and I preferred this smaller 4-hour production film than I did for the other film that I spent about 6 months on. So I decided to try to expand it. It was a very specific, unique structure, I guess, because the film plays out in reverse in like small blocks, and it's very minimal on dialogue except for this opening scene right now. But yeah, so I just kind of wanted to explore kind of some issues that I was having within the media, and more so, you know, you're hearing about all of these really like terrible tragedies, where it's, you know, like murder, shootings, hit and runs, and people kind of trying to give this to why this person did what they did, just to kind of feel comfortable about it all. And I guess the whole thesis of the film is the fact that you can't sum up someone's actions through a series of moments. So what we basically tried to do is show these 3 separate crimes, and kind of show the small moments that you don't really read about, the small moments that you don't hear about. You know, between certain bigger actions, there's just a character just sitting there eating a burger, right? So I think trying to explore that, especially in like a very stripped down cinematic language, was really interesting and fun. And we shot this in about 8 days, with a ton of prep behind us, so that when we showed up, we just kind of knew exactly what to do.
Certainly
me and the cinematographer / producer, we actually shot the film almost twice, because we had access to the to every single location. So we showed up, me and the DP, and we basically all of the work that we would be doing on set, figuring out, you know, from my shot list, if this works, if like that works, we kind of massaged through, so that when we showed up to set, we had just like very little communication about what, like, you know, like, of course everything changes, but we still had the talks prior to that, which really cut down a lot of our time on set, which was great. And we're definitely very fortunate to have access, because I believe there's like 25 locations throughout the entire film, so to have access to all of them was really, really nice. But yeah.
So then my same question goes to you as I asked Dylan earlier. With having that many locations, did you get permits for all of them, or did you and the team just be like, we're going to shoot here, quickly set up, go guerrilla style on it?
A lot of them were from people that we knew, so we didn't necessarily get permits from. And then a few of them that we didn't, we just kind of, I tried to choose. There's actually one scene that takes place, and it's a very important scene that takes place on a country road during the day. And I went to go check out maybe 5 or 6 specific roads that I really loved. And I was like, okay, we're going to shoot this at Saturday around 10 a.m. So for 5 Saturdays, I went to every location, sat on my car for 20 minutes, and just checked off how many cars within that time frame to be like, okay, there's only 3 here, so we should probably choose this one. But we did get kicked out of one location, but right at the last shot, so it was perfect timing. And yeah, it's out of the 3 stories, one of the stories is almost every scene's a different location, and then the other 2 stories, it's very confined to one space. So I think we had for the last story, every location, we had about 45 minutes to an hour to set up, shoot, break down, and leave. Yeah, so.
Wow. As Claire said, you can definitely work efficiently. That is amazing.
Wow. How many cast members were in the short film?
We're in the short, 2.
And did you use the same people again?
Both of them actually show up within the feature. Not, it was basically the feature, story-wise, doesn't really have any similarities.
Okay.
It does in so many words, but
it's more like the concept.
Yeah, we did use both of the actors. Yeah, it's more the structure, the concept,
Sure.
kind of the tone. But we did use certain aspects of the short film within the feature, just in smaller ways. Yeah.
Is that how you managed to fund the feature? You showed the short film and then got funding from that, or how did you manage to fund this feature film?
So we actually went through Kickstarter.
Nice.
And we funded a good chunk of it through there. Then the rest of it was all self-financed. I did all of the post work myself. A lot of the people, like most of the crew, all kind of worked for free because they're all either people that I've worked with before that wanted to work in a good position. Like our first AC was a PA that I've worked with, right? Which was great. I think on set we had 5 and 7 crew, very most, and 5 at the very least. So yeah.
No, good way to do it, definitely.
Yeah, how did you find the crowdfunding? Did you manage to reach your goal and then you were able to move forward with it? Or, I don't know, crowdfunding, to me, there's so many ways you can go around it. And
for some people, it's an absolute nightmare, and some people really enjoy the process. It's definitely one of those things I think some filmmakers sort of shudder at if ever you say, like, oh, crowdfunding.
What was your take on it?
Yeah, I would love to meet somebody who loved the process. That'd be like crazy.
I've actually relatively enjoyed working on, but I've never headed one up myself,
really?
and I think that's the difference. But I do find it exciting, like
Yeah,
seeing who's engaging with the project, seeing what people sort of think about it, and seeing those numbers tick up is satisfying. So as much as it's a stressful process, yeah, I have enjoyed the ones I've been involved in.
So we can see a beautiful house now. Sorry, I changed topic massively, but we can see a beautiful house within the forest.
No.
Where is this location?
Yes. That's my parents' place. Yes.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Whereabouts is it? Is it in Toronto? Or surely not outside in the...
It's outside of Toronto, just north. It's in Richmond Hill. It's about 30 minutes north. We chose the locations and then almost built the stories kind of around them. There were also like 2 other smaller vignettes that we wanted to one of which we actually prepped for and we were planning to shoot it, then we decided not to. Strictly for the purpose that we felt like the story itself, we weren't giving it enough attention. It was a story that we tried to fit into a vignette that really only kind of weakened it by like trying to make it smaller and fit it into a structure like this. So we ultimately cut that, but we had a few other access to different locations that I wrote, but I just didn't love. So yeah.
So take us back a little bit. You mentioned there that you found the locations first and then worked the script around the locations. Is that correct?
Yeah. I just kind of looked at what we had access to, and then you put other scripts with like similar stories that kind of fit within the location. Like Marianne I just kind of changed from like a different type of factory to this certain type of warehouse, you know. And even this one with mother, son, and father, it was kind of like something that was part of a subplot in something else that I wrote that I just kind of pulled from. So yeah.
An amazing way to work, and that's probably one of the reasons why you were quite efficient in your shooting and everything else.
Yeah.
Great way to work.
I definitely think so.
So
Thank you.
The film is
and
made.
That's also me acting with my mother there too. So.
Oh. So she was happy to
Yeah.
get involved and acting in the film, or is she an actor?
No. I casted her before putting myself in. I casted myself purely for budget reasons, but I had casted her with the intention that I knew that she was good to pull off this character. So.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Amazing. What a fun memory to have as well.
Yeah.
Nice. So you've completed the film. It's on the festival circuit. Are you looking for distribution? What stage are you at the moment?
We just kind of started the festival circuit right now. I think Paris was our first festival. We went to Tampa Bay. It just played that last week. It's in London right now. London Liftoff, and we're going through the rest of the festivals within the next year. But yes, we are looking for distribution. So
Great.
we'll see how that takes off and goes.
Yeah, no, there's
Yeah.
definitely an audience here for you on the distribution side of things. And you mentioned there that you're taking part in the London Liftoff Film Festival. So are you actively using the festival
I am.
hub that has been introduced into this festival?
I have been, yes. I've been. I just kind of jumped on it this week as well. It's a great hub. I don't believe Paris had that festival.
No,
hub,
it was a new initiative that took place for London, and I think
It's a new
something
initiative,
that the
yeah.
team would like to continue doing, because we've
Yeah.
seen lots of engagement in there. And
You've signed up for the focus group, I believe, haven't you?
I did. Yes, I did.
so-
Yeah.
so that's
yeah.
really cool
I'm
as
very excited
well.
for that too.
And as Nat said, I mean, the idea
Yeah,
of it all sort of sparked from the idea of how can we make these festivals even more connected and people engaging and networking with each other. So it will be really cool to have you on for the focus group discussing with other films in
Great,
the
thank
program
you.
next week.
Yeah, for sure. I think even going through the process with Pulk and how we kind of shot it, there's actually a film on London Liftoff called Downtown, and it's basically a story about a filmmaker and how she's trying to make a film basically with nothing. And it's so honest and it's so funny and sad and really, really great. So anyone who's ever made a film or tried to make a film with like a stick of gum should definitely check it out. It's really good.
Definitely.
we will also pass that on. Thank you. Great. So what else are you working on? So this is doing the festival circuit, and next year you should find out if you've gotten into more festivals. So that's kind of now doing its own thing, and the universe is connecting it to other festivals or whatever it may be. What else are you working on?
Yeah. I'm working on a few projects right now. I've written two films during COVID that
Wow.
are similar themes to what I've kind of been like exploring with Pulk, and then I'm writing another smaller drama with Alfio Foti, the producer of Pulk, and then I'm writing a comedy with Jay Weckler, the other producer of Pulk. So couple different projects going on right now, trying to be efficient with all of this free time right now. So yeah, a few different things going on.
Great.
Amazing. It's interesting to hear that you're sticking to the drama genre, but then also throwing a comedy in there as well. I guess you need to have some sort of happy release. So,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. Very cool. Well, thank you so much for joining. And Angela or Dylan, do you have any questions for Julian?
I was just wondering, your whole pre-production process is very extensive. Does that take away, do you feel like that takes away from any spontaneity or any kinds of, like, sometimes there's magic on set. Does that at all limit the magic that could happen? Do you feel?
That's a great question.
That's a really good question. I think one, I don't I don't. Rehearsals don't really work for me. So, like in pre-production, I don't do any rehearsals with the actors. We just kind of sit down for hours and hours and talk about the film, talk about the character. So I think that when we get on set, my direction with an actor is very minimal. I just kind of let them do their own thing, and then we try out different things. And because we've done extensive prep from directing the camera, we're given the time to kind of try out different ways of kind of approaching the scene. And even when you plan as much as possible with the camera, Angela, you talked about a scene that you wanted rain and then it rained. And then with us, we actually had the exact opposite. So we were shooting at night on a country road. The only lighting was hazard beams. And thank God we shot the scene chronologically, because it started to rain halfway through, which on set we were like, oh my God, this is terrible. This is horrible. But after editing it, it actually ramps up the tension and it builds the horror, and it added so much to it that something like that was like incredible. And like, I can't picture like the scene without it now. So yeah.
Nice.
Cool. Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Well, yeah, just a huge thank you to all of you for sharing your personal stories and your projects and your thoughts and feelings about them. So thank you so much. We do appreciate it.
And I look forward to seeing your future projects, and stay in touch and get us involved in any way that you want. If you have any questions, feel free to just ask away. We're always at the other end of an email. So
Absolutely.
thank you again so much, and I hope you enjoyed today's stream.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing this space.
All right, take care.
Thank
you
you.
so much, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye. That was fantastic. That was really great. So if you enjoyed that, we will be doing a few more with our Sydney, Melbourne and London Lifter Film Festivals to round off the year. Thank you for joining.
Thanks a lot, everybody.